And then you come, you say, you have a balance of power with the ones you will appoint. How? To me, I want to live reality. Maybe the professors will enlighten me more. Even when I was in law school, I really interrogated it much deeper to material, and it couldn't make so much sense to me. And then when I became deputy speaker and I now started living the reality, because I believe, to me, it's complementary. It should be complementary. So that, because the executive has a direct responsibility of reporting to the people. A direct responsibility. So if they could work very well with other areas, you do your budget. The president doesn't take his budget to the judiciary, but the judiciary must take their budget to him. So where do you have the balance of that? Where? Okay? So maybe we can interrogate further and we see how best such can be, but we were aiming at that we strengthen the judiciary, we strengthen parliament so that they complement with the executive. Now I'm using my own terms. They complement with the executive and deliver for the people of Uganda. Then appropriation. You saw the other day we had a crisis when the president returned the appropriation bill the first time. And now we have to go back and sit and develop a mechanism. How do we work together on the issue of appropriation? Is a budget sent to Parliament? Because you send a budget to Parliament that comes with what you call unfunded priorities. Now, unfunded priorities, some have been unfunded for 10 years and they are still called priorities. And they are unfunded. And you even bring a supplementary budget, you don't consider unfunded priorities, you bring new priorities. So, we say, okay, through appropriation, can we interrogate further the issue of unfunded priorities? But then, when they are releasing a certificate of financial implication for the appropriation bill, the unfunded priorities are not considered because you fail to get money to fund them. Government gives work plans. So as Parliament, do you go and sit and start shifting money from here to here, which is not in work plans of government, which is not in procurement plans of government? So this is where I would want to hear our seniors go a little bit deeper on the intention and how best we can have harmony in such a critical areas when institutions like Parliament are doing their work. And also you bring a budget of 72 trillion, but out of that, on around 26 trillion is discretionary. Now discretionary, this is money which is not tied. The rest is statutory, loan repayments, salaries, budget of judiciary, budget of state house, budget of parliament, budget of local government service commission, budget of IGG, all of those are tied. You can only make comments, you cannot change anything. So, appropriation, how do we have that balance? Representation. Now, the one of representation is interesting. I have people who bash Parliament all the time. And they are usually led by Godwin. And sometimes Sarah. And when I stood as a member of Parliament, I had, I was surviving well in my businesses. So I have colleagues, business colleagues who called me. And they say, what are you doing in this thing? Please, you are doing well in your business. Why? Why are you causing yourself problems? And then I said, but you people, do you know the role of Parliament? They are the ones who determine the taxes I pay as a businessman. So why do you want me to send people who have never sold tomatoes to determine taxes? And that's why one day I asked people in finance on taxes, principles of taxation. And I said, how do you put excise duty on cement. Because excise duty, in principles of taxation, we know is sin tax. So how can construction be a sin that you penalize it with excise duty? Okay? You put excise duty on cement. But really? Yeah, but you see, we've identified we must get money here. Okay? And then now you will take it to an MP who has never paid any tax or employed any person. And you think he will bother. So, I want God but to go and stand in Ntungamo and come to Parliament and make it better. Because you see, we have a saying in our Nyankore, which I share with some of my people here, that otamkuisat muikare tujendi. You know, in a wrestling match, when you're struggling, you know, fighting, struggling for your balance, the spectators are saying, no, just hit him down, we go. Oh, you see, when we are watching football, how people can abuse a striker like Saka. I say, why? How can he miss out? You give them an empty goal, they can't even put in. So, you elites of Uganda and commentators, why are you on television talking of how we have a substandard parliament? How we have average members of parliament as if you were stopped from standing? Who has stopped you? Why can't you come and make it better? Why? Come in. Go to the village, look for those votes. You'll see what it takes. Because society will get leaders that it deserves. You don't stand, but you're ready to assess whoever stood and passed through. And then after you say, I'm better. But you come in the arena and you see what it takes. So I believe I want to encourage elites and the well-educated and the wealthy and the businessmen. I see in America, I see where billionaires are going to parliament. In Uganda, billionaires, you're saying, no, if I go into politics, I'm exposing my money. Okay? So how are you going to protect it if you can't come and give ideas on how you can protect that money? So on the issues of representation, I believe the Constitution did a wonderful thing. Each one of you has an opportunity. Please don't despise your representatives when you cannot go and challenge them. Finally, I think we still have, of course, a lot to work on as a country. And also this, by the way, we've had a very big debate on the issue of numbers of parliament. They also concern me because the cost of administration in this country, I want to be honest, is so high, is extremely high. It is something we have to maybe one day take a bold step and look into. Overall, the cost of finding that, you know, I remember when we were young, a policeman says, I will beat you and government will pay. Okay? I'll beat you and government will pay. I'm permanent and pensionable. Whether one works or not, the process, no process of accountability in public service, they are so tight, you know. I don't know what we can do to ensure that maybe public service or public servants are on contract. They sign performance contracts. If you don't perform, you go. We have very many unemployed people. But the issue of the numbers in parliament, the other day we were talking and someone said, but look, even the Constitution, I don't think you have fulfilled the requirements of the Constitution of all marginalized groups. being represented in parliament, or marginalized. Now even the poor are going to say we are marginalized, we are poor, you're not considering. And people are forming their own groups now with the advent of circles, associations. We are going to have more and more and more and more coming up. But I think we make a road fit in society, not society fit in a road. Our constitution is a living document. Now, it must move with the times. Some of the amendments, one might not agree with them. Yes, but last time, sir, I gave an example of the issue of age limit, where personally my view, and I put it on the floor, my view was very, very clear. I believe in term limits, I don't believe in age limit. Because you see, when you talk of age limit, now I gave an example of President Kabila. He became a president of the DRC. I think he was around 31, yes? So if you are using the age limit of Uganda, which was 75 years, that people were fighting about, then it means President Kabila would legitimately be a president in DRC for 44 years without you questioning. Colonel Strasser in Sierra Leone, I think he became a president at around 26 years. So it would mean that for 49 years he's legitimately a president without you questioning anything. So that's why some of us believe that, well, some of the amendments, I wasn't there when they amended the Constitution to remove term limits. I've read the arguments. Some are interesting, some I don't know. I was there for age limit, and I supported age limit amendment. And up to now, even if we had urged like how long, I would stand by that. That I believe in term limits, I don't believe in age limit. So we still have gaps that we have to work on. The issue of the 2/3 gender rule, it is something which we have not yet fully addressed, but I believe compared to the rest of Africa and the rest of the world, we are making very, very good progress, and very many other issues to do with governance, which I believe a constitution being a living document, we shall slowly look into them.
I've been telling people, when you come and say 30 years of implementing the 1995 Constitution, I said, wait a minute. The 1995 Constitution stopped before 10 years, you know? And I can prove this because the 1995 Constitution the commission was chaired by Justice Odoki. That constitution you call Odoki Commission, down the road, there was the Tayebwa Review Commission. You forget that, you Ugandans. Before 10 years even, I think, there was the Uganda the Constitutional Review Commission, chaired by Professor Tayebwa, who was one of the members of the original commission. And what did he do? He saw all these things as he chaired, and he came out with a minority report. Thank him. You clap. You people, you know, you don't know. Because he realized, he said, no, our constitution, which was popularly made, you people, this was the first time Ugandans sat together and they said, yes, colonialism is gone. Those constitutions made by those people are gone. This is the moment, this is the time we Ugandans are sitting here to recreate our Uganda, because the other one was cut like this, and we were building a foundation on which to build the new Uganda. And move on. That's why the expectations. If you look at the principles, I have noted them down, but I don't know where I put my notebook. Senior age is coming in. But the principles, Sarah, you know them in our preamble, the principles upon which the new constitution were based, and we are seeing a new Uganda. And we elected, and Ugandans talked, and this is what we want, this is where we want to go. And the CA put yes, this is it. And then we went very happy and held elections in 1996, to put the President Museveni in official power. Because the other 10 years, he had taken over government and overthrown constitutions. So he was able to make sure that we make a constitution. At the 1996 elections, the first elections within the constitution, to start implementing the constitution. And I want to thank the Lord that I was also there. And that time, election violence, no. Rigging, no. Bribe, no. All those things were not there. And so we start implementing our constitution. Before 9 years or what? This constitution is critically injured. What do you call it? When they cut your leg? Amputated. Thank you very much. That constitution, by 10 years, it was amputated by removing crucial thing that Ugandans were concerned about. But before that, as a person who started implementing the constitution, I came to realize, I told you I'm not going into diplomacy. I came to realize that leadership seemed not to have understood constitutionalism. Wanting a constitution. In the Bible, there is a statement which says that some Christians have a form of godliness, but denying its power. So now, in this country, the leadership wanted a constitution, but denying its power. And for me, I say maybe they didn't understand the power of a constitution. They thought that a constitution is a mere paper. And I personally had our president telling us, constitution is a mere paper. And that's what President Obote had also said. But the constitution is a mere paper. So if our leaders see a constitution as just a mere paper, without understanding constitutionalism, then what do you say? I'm telling you these things because we are looking at the journey of the constitution. So ours ended in 10 years. Then after that, the Constitutional Review Commission, which came now and cut the leg and this facilitated or enabled disabled and disabled the constitution to work. You see, started limping. And that's when things began. But it was brought by the realization that the principle of separation of powers affects or disturbs the executive. Because it was very clear, I don't know whether any of you, Sarah, you remember that case of Bujagari. That was the beginning. When Bujagari, the executive wanted to give a contract to make electricity in Bujagari to a company in America, and now the parliament took its authority and looked at it and said, no, this is not right. We are not taking this. 6th Parliament. You people, you always hear how 6th Parliament is a pain in the neck of our president. The 6th Parliament stood up like he was saying, no, we have our authority. We must take authority here. Executive, you are not going to order us here, like the NRC previously. And that was hell. Hell broke loose from that time. You people who don't know what is happening with this constitution and all that kind of thing, that the principle of separation of powers, where the president realized that, hey, you mean I am hampered in being the Professor Tayebwa, what he told us, he's the head of the household. He tells these women and children, don't talk, don't talk. So all of a sudden he sees the wife talking now. Something must happen to you. So there was now a new strategy to recapture the authority from the institutions of the state, those three institutions, the parliament, the judiciary, and me as I talk, because I don't want to take long, because they have said it all, but I said I'm diplomatizing it for you. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, down the road, the parliament, the constitution of Uganda, the parliament who was working with implementing the constitution ended with the 7th parliament. And you all know, you who were there. Because when the term limit was proposed and removed, and was to be removed, and the Ugandans were saying no, some of us were the leaders who said no. Why? Because we knew what Ugandans want. We knew what Ugandans want. We were seeing them. We saw their passion. They said, this country, you are telling us of a constitution, but we can tell you, you cannot. What does the constitution mean when the president can never hand power peacefully? Their concern was, unless we have peaceful handover of power from one president to another, then this constitution does not make sense to us. And we asked them, so what do we do? And they said, let us limit the term of the president, because the president comes in, they have power, they have military, they have resources, we cannot talk. You know, my senior here was saying, let us raise the demonstration. Which demonstration? Where will you demonstrate from? You know, my senior, you are telling them, let us do this, but you are telling the wrong people. All these people seated here have no right to do. That is the truth. The ones who have rights to do are not here. I hope they will read those things, but even if they do. So, for me, as far as I'm concerned, the moment the term limit was removed, and was removed through corruption, who doesn't know this? When we stood up very tough, 5 million came. The parliament was bribed. They removed the term limit, and the beginning started. Right from the 8th parliament, implementation of the constitution, the principle of separation of powers, and then the judiciary was raped. So now, in other words, he was saying diplomatically, but the principle of separation of powers does not apply in this country. You all know that. You look at the executive. Who rules the executive? Don't you know? In the constitutionalism, where is the position of the first family? Is it there? Is it given role? But practically, this country, who does? Me, I came here to undiplomaticalize these things so that you see them very properly. And I'm not going to talk too much. That constitution, as I told you, when you look at the principles which it had put, unity, peace, freedom, equality, we had suffered with the military. We had suffered the way we are suffering now. Militarization. Me, I call the rulership in this country military dictatorship. Whether you talk of elections, to me, they mean nothing. This is me. You called me to talk as a person who started and saw the journey and saw where it is ending now. And I want to say that Ugandans have been captured, the institutions have been captured. For you, you are captured by fear. I don't know whether it is fear for jobs, whether fear for your lives. You just bow anyhow and you go on. So where is the constitutionalism now? Now I can look here and see what I had put. The major question of that constitution that time was governance, as you have heard. handing of power peacefully from one president to another. It is now 40 years. No peaceful handover of power from one president to another. What independence is that? Me, I'm asking. Independence? Where Ugandans cannot decide, where the civil society, civic space is captured. Some of us are chased everywhere we go to try to do. You remember Sedu, which was looking over the elections and so on, and when I became a chair, it was closed completely so that he doesn't talk, but I continue talking because that is the talent I got. You remember when they gave talents? I've got to account for my talent when I go to heaven. And so, central, and I should finish, then we'll debate. Central to the problem of governance in this country, which leads to violation of our constitution and forgetting what? Constitutionalism is what drives people into leadership in this country, especially the political leadership. What should drive people into leadership should be people. You should be self-centered, you should be people-centered and service-oriented. You go to positions of power, to get power, to use it, to serve your people and your nation. That is the leadership I knew. That is the leadership for which we are getting these awards. That one. But the current leadership right down the road as it moves has been overtaken by self-centeredness and power-oriented. People want power to use it for their self-interests. So, with that kind of thing, what constitutionalism are you talking about? Central to the Constitution were human rights. Human rights was very central. You can imagine the violation of human rights in this country. High. People are suffering. Then come greed. Have you ever, the other day I was saying, but surely I think our land is cursed because greed for land, torturing, oppressing. You ended with that statement, the animal farm, where those people who came to deliver us and we embraced, they have really oppressed, exploited, manipulated, that people are crying. Our guest of honor, Chief Speaker, people are crying for you, you live in your country, but people are suffering, people are crying, the oppressed, the poor, the gap between the rich and the poor is just too much. If you are poor, no treatment. The members of parliament, the ministers, they fly them away for treatment. For you, you die there suffering. Yes, relative stability, you said, yes, they are sleeping. But are they sleeping in peace or in pain? Really? This is serious. Now, I think I have said that fear, self-centeredness, and no constitutionalism, but constitution. Some form of godliness without respecting its power. One thing that our guest speaker said, which came into my mind, the second one, not Professor, I won't quote your words, but they are there. I wish you could read them for us. But he said that something in this country is glooming. Those are my words. And unless it is halted or dealt with, we are in to see a full burst. I said, hey, kumbe the guest knows our things. Because for sure, all of you know whatever is going on, even with the elections. By the way, have you ever seen the parliament is not sitting? Why? Because the speaker is accompanying the president in the campaign. You people, where is the democracy? Where is constitutionalism? Where is it? I must finish here, and then you will challenge me, and then we shall see how we move. But let me conclude by saying this. Many people condemn us. I'm sure Professor also knows. But for him, he could have stopped that commission. But for us who went to see and made the constitution, we are being accused. It is our fault. We are the people who gave the president the centralized power that he must do anything he wants. I want to tell you today, having been given this opportunity, that that's a lie. The president abuses power. We gave him the right power. We looked at Uganda, we said, the president is answerable for anything that goes wrong or right. And so since he's answerable, once a president is elected, we should give him peace, some way to nominate those people whom he thinks can work with him to lead this country. We said he should have that right to nominate. But we said, since Parliament represents us as people, and since power belongs to the people, as we said in the Constitution, and we have given this power which belongs to us, to the members of Parliament and to the President to lead us. Now let the President, who will be answerable finally, have the authority and power to nominate the people he wants to work with. Whether cabinet, whether judges, whether what, government, parastatals, let him nominate, but subject his nomination to the Parliament, which represents us, so that the Parliament had the power and authority to reject or endorse. And when I was in that Parliament, which I called the Parliament, not this. Yes, we would decide. You know, when we decided, he made sure he fought us, and we got out and he captured the Parliament. But we would decide, we censured even ministers. We censured them. We would refuse to endorse an appointment. But now, even when the Parliament censures the minister stays there working. Can you imagine a minister, you censured the minister, he's supposed to go. And now he appears before you. And now he has a budget, and you give it. How do you see her? Why don't you throw her out? But does the Parliament do that? It has been demeaned. It has been made powerless. It has been like you bow down to this holy person up there, and we are just done. Otherwise, the Parliament is the one supposed to endorse or reject. It handed over its power. It surrendered itself. It bowed, like, I don't want to use those tough words, but I would have said it, but we have guests here. I want them to think I'm very good. You just bow your authority, and then they walk on you and you move on. You people, so stop condemning us. The man has no absolute power. He only abuses power. He violates the Constitution, and then the rest say yes, and it is your fault. So you better rise up and redeem yourself. And with that, I endorse all these things which my seniors said. I was only detonating it to small ones.
Interesting. This conversation is live on UBC TV. Thank you. Dr. Matende. I'll ask our panelists to hold the seats a little bit so we can now get reactions from the plenary. I'll give each, whoever wants to speak, 3 minutes each. Just observe time, please. 3 minutes, and then we'll get back to, if you have any comment or question, then we'll get back to our speakers so we can conclude this conversation. Three minutes for everyone who's... Yes, thank you.
moderator, sir, the distinguished panelists, and the keynote addresser. My name is John Ken Luchams, the man. Before I make any comment, I must say, without biasness, that the 3 stars are pronounced, should be pronounced as intellectuals. And to borrow the words of Professor Mazui, who mentored me, Professor Mazui defined an intellectual as a person who is fascinated by ideas and has acquired the skill to handle those ideas effectively. They have effectively acted. My first reaction goes to Honorable Matembe, who was my colleague in the service. Madam Matembe, you seem as if you had a phobia for 1962 Constitution. You cannot disown the federal constitution under which the Ugandan nation was born. Whether there were squiggles here and there, you should be proud of your birth as a nation state, so that you do not hide under the blame of colonialism as an influence toward the right context. My comment is about the remarks made by Professor Tayebwa, who was a key actor in the constitution-making exercise. Professor Tayebwa, what persuaded you when you are making inquiries about constitutional making to pose questionnaires of this magnitude? Aware of the situation you have been going through, do you still need kingdoms? You are posing that question before the owners of the state. What was your purpose? You should be able to explain that. Now, we are in a dilemma, a big dilemma. Since I was a member of the 7th Parliament, let me tell you what exactly happened. When the government realized that the people of Uganda were still interested in the division of powers under federalism, after experiencing the report of Odoki and Professor Tayebwa respectively, the government posed what they called regional tier. When the regional tier came to us in Parliament, we debated it squarely and rejected its form. Government went ahead to pass it through the influence of the NRM members. When it reached the Parliamentary Council, it is the Parliamentary Council that partially rescued us. When it refused to write the word regional tier because of its excessive ambiguity, they said in legislative drafting, and I'm a small authority in that area of law, you cannot write the word regional tier. It does not exist anywhere in the world, and it is a meaningless slogan. They wrote regional government. What is in the Constitution was formulated by the Parliamentary Council of Uganda, and a clap for her. Otherwise, regional tier, what does it mean? It does not mean anything. So the concept have protested. We are saying nobody is entitled to give us federalism. It is the people of Uganda to decide their destiny. And we have a petition in proposition which endeavors to make sure that we reform that regional governance provision squarely by saying that Uganda should be named the Federal Republic of Uganda, because the Federal Republic of Uganda reflects our adventure in the struggle for freedom. The government of Uganda is bent on making us live the way in which we were born, and we are insisting that we should have a devolution of powers, whether it likes or not. So from now onwards, the Conservative Party is going to pray very hard that we send as many MPs as possible in Parliament, so that when we reach Parliament, we can reform squarely that lame factor of regional tier into a meaningful federal slogan. What are we saying? The time is now to warn President Museveni that enough is enough. We can no longer be governed in the way he wants us to govern under that oligarchy, which includes his wife, his sons, his so and so. That chapter must go, and it must now. So the political parties now in the field, we are looked at as if we are underdogs, as if we are non-government organizations. We cannot talk. You, Dr. Justice Ogora, thank you for your brilliant presentation. I did not want you to stop. I wish you spoke on up to 7 p.m. tonight. Nolwekyo ekyo bagasita ndaba nastange bagasita mba ntistinti ekisesera kitusituse mwestemwe musitujje omusasajja asitajja kugestenda era agestenda.
Thank you, Honorable Ken Chams. We need to make an agreement. 3 minutes is 3 minutes. All right? Yes. We can pass the mic on, and I'll find you wherever you are. 3 minutes, let it be 3 minutes.
Yeah, thanks very much. Our presenters, Godbert Mushabe are my names. I am the chairman of the board of CCG, and I do a couple of other things. Yeah, really, I mean, the presentations have been really spot on in terms of the nature of the crisis that we face. But you know, for me, just to bring it down, the crisis we face normally is manifest in the speech that has been given by my friend and brother, Thomas Tayebwa. Because you see, when you hold a public office, there are certain expectations on you. Whether you speak as a lawyer, which he is, whether you speak as a politician or an ordinary person. Now, but when you are a deputy speaker of parliament, and you come and speak to a public forum, and you say, one, you don't know what balance of power means. That's scary. That is completely scary. You don't know balance of power between the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. But more scary is the rationalization that the president has more power because he is elected by everybody. That's really scaring you people. Because you see, everybody, even when you go to the Constitution, everybody who holds the power in this country holds it in a trust for the citizens. That power is derived from the citizens. So, essentially for us as Ugandans, under our Constitution, made by these wonderful people, we said we will have a president. And we gave the president the power of appointment. So when he appoints the Chief Justice, and because that's the major appointment he makes, the Speaker is elected. So when he appoints the Chief Justice and all the other officers, this guy is appointing them on our behalf. He's not the one who is appointing. We are the ones who gave him the power. Now, the problem that we've had is that when we have leaders of the nature of the Speaker, you know, you can't have a Speaker who becomes a bag woman over a president. You can't. That's not a country, people. Let's be serious. Some of you have seen the Speaker kneel down before a president. Surely. It's very, very disturbing that even all of us as a country, we accept it. A Speaker of Parliament kneeling before a president. And then it passes as if it's okay. Yeah? So I think that we have a problem now as a country because the Deputy Speaker was challenging me that I should go, I should contest. That I go and become an MP and be part of that group. Yeah, because you see, if you have, normally when you have a leadership in a country, you create, the reason we, even all these agencies of government, the reason we give criteria and say you must have the foreign qualifications, you are trying to up the credibility of the institution so that it attracts the right people. Even in our small organizations, you set a criteria. We want researchers of this level. We want this because you are trying to up. Now, when you have a government that lowers the qualities and the specifications of these people, then you basically exclude those who think are very serious. I actually believe, to be honest, with all due respect, I don't think that if you are a serious Ugandan, you are aspiring to join that parliament. We have to be working to change that parliament so that we have the right people there. So that's our, I think that's the major issue that we have to deal with, that you have to be able to change the parliament. We change it. And by any means, by the way, Professor Tayebwa and Miria, you did a wonderful job that when the constitution is overthrown, I'm going to wind up in just a few seconds. When the constitution is overthrown, we are supposed to use any means to be able to defend that constitution. Because the 1995 constitution was overthrown. It was overthrown in 2005, and whatever remained was removed in 2017. Let me conclude by the point on age limits. Because the speaker will come and say, me, I'm for age limits, I'm for term limits, but I don't want age limits. Nobody doesn't take rocket science to know that these wise men and women who wrote that document were creating safeguards. It's not an either or. There's a safeguard of term limits. So if you are a young person like Kavera that he used, then we know you are only spending 2 terms. But there's also a safeguard of age limit which is separate and distinct from term limits. So if you are not a man like me, you know that if you are at 70, you know you can rule only for 1 term. So it's as simple as that. Does that take rocket science? Now, I find it frightening when someone like Speaker Tayebwa and other high-profile people come and talk to Ugandans in that sense. You guys, we have a problem. We just need to be brutally honest with ourselves that we have to change the problem because the problem is there. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Awoneka from Walezwa Katiba, Guardians of the Constitution. The 2 things for me. My Lord Justice Ogola, you asked us as Ugandans to defend our Constitution. And I'm asking, how else are we going to do it? We have gone to court. We have filed petitions. The streets, we no longer have spaces. All the playgrounds, all the spaces are taken over by the military. Cannot even go to the people in Makerere cannot even protest in the Freedom Square about school, about tuition. Where else can we go? What can we do to defend our Constitution? Lastly, the Constitution for the last 30 years has only been translated into 15 languages out of the 45 that it's supposed to. Civics and political education were banned from school. No one knows about the Constitution. So it is deliberate that we do not know about the Constitution. So that's something that we need to do. What do we do in the circumstances, in the defense of the Constitution, but lawful, when the lawful means have been taken over by the boots?
Thank you so much. By virtue of my height, allow me to take the podium. Excuse me. Okay. I'm sure now you can see me, isn't it? Thank you so much. My name is Ochero Ronald Frank. I'm a medical student, 4th year at Kampala International University. Allow me to salute all the young men and women that are here today. We are the leaders of today, right? It's no longer realistic to say that we are leaders of tomorrow by virtue of our youthful population of Uganda and that of Africa that stands at an average age of 19 years, isn't it? All right, one of the areas of discussion today that has captured my attention was stability that was emphasized repeatedly by Honorable Speaker Thomas Tayebwa. But I feel like we are leaving the real question. The real question of today should not be stability, it should be sustainability. All Ugandans have seen what has happened. There is peace in the country. We are relatively stable, but it's also questionable, just like Professor Frederick has brought it in his analogy, and we have heard the speakers that have been arguing. So, stability is even questionable. The real question of today is sustainability. Yes? Okay. To have sustainability, we need to have strong and independent systems. We need to have strong and independent institutions, majorly the legislature and the judiciary, of which is arguably deniable that we do not have those systems at the moment. To have those strong systems, we need to have an empowered citizenry. We need to have an empowered generation. It is these empowered people that build strong systems. It is the strong system then that go ahead to bring about sustainability and to hold our democracy. We can go about blaming the government of today, and we can do that for years and years. As long as we do not go back to empower the generations, that these generations are going to build these strong systems, that the systems are now going to hold government accountable. Yes, our judiciary is down, our legislature is down, and that is what those in power ride on to bring about unconstitutionalism and lack of rule of law. So I would like to thank Dr. Sarah and the panelists of today that are trying to bring this discussion down to young people. It is these empowered young people that are going to rise up and do these institutions that is going to now bring about what we want, the democracy and the rule of law.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's just have 2-3 comments. We'll get to our speakers and we'll come back for another round.
My name is Egesa Ronald Leonard. I am a civically active Ugandan. And I would like to appreciate the panelists for this morning session. I was about just around 10, 11 years old when the Constitution was promulgated in 1995. As a young person who loved current affairs, my hopes were in the sky. I looked at this as the best plan for Ugandans to govern ourselves into the future. And I identified one enemy that the Constitution had taken out. The enemy was military men. So that was the enemy I identified at the time. But like they say in the military, the best plans fail at the first contact with the enemy. So the enemy, the first contact with the enemy came in 2005. Because we had a very smooth ride. I remember the wins by Dr. James Ranyarare, the late Paul Kawanga Semogerere in the Constitution and Supreme Court. They kept on showing us that we seem to be on the right path and the needle is moving one step at a time. And as young people, we had a lot of hope. Now, first contact with the enemy, 2005, term limits out. A military man had successfully emasculated the other arm of government, the legislature. The Black Mamba was the beginning of emasculation of the other arm of government, the judiciary. The rest is history. Now, my question to you, distinguished panelists. We have distinguished petitioners and jurists. And we have a distinguished former legislator. Can we stop speaking in tongues and tell you Ugandans the alternative means they can use to redeem the Constitution, because the judiciary and the legislature have been emasculated by the head of the executive. So what, can we speak a language that Ugandans will understand? What options do we have? What can we do to redeem constitutionalism for this country? Thank you very much.
Thank you. More comments?
Thank you very much. I'm going to raise a concern. You've picked so many men to speak. You don't look behind.